Good morning. Happy Monday. Welcome to another week of our grade 11 Math for Everyday Life course. My name is Kobe Flatt, and for the next hour, we're going to go through the MEL3E course curriculum. Every Monday to Thursday from 10 to 11, we go through all 20 lessons. That's not true. Each day is a new lesson, but by the end of the 9 weeks, we will have made it through all 20 lessons. We are actually starting week 4 today. I did not adjust the slides because we ended off last Thursday with lesson 6, didn't get to finish it all up. So today I'm going to pick up where we left off and finish lesson 6. Based on just having run out of time and felt like I was rushing through it, I want to go through it again today so that we are confident and comfortable with the material. But we are into May, and we are on our 4th week of our 9-week radio Zoom schedule. Remember, if you are doing the IL course, the independent learning course, you can still tune in to these radio Zoom broadcasts to learn how each concept should be completed, how each key question should be completed, what each course concept is talking about. If you need that extra support, you can go to our WASA Radio Zoom. No, good Lord. It's a Monday, people. I'm sorry. My brain is not as fast as it should be today. If you want to look at any of the course classes we've already completed, you can go to WASA's YouTube channel. That's what I was trying to say. And I want to show you what that looks like. So if you go to your search engine and you type in YouTube, we're going to search for, once it's pulled up, we're going to search for WASA Distance Education Center. And you will see our channel there. On our channel, you can find all of the courses that we offer. There are individual videos posted, but there are also playlists. You can go and find all of our math classes together in one playlist. Good morning. Yep, that is our class from lesson 4. But if you go to the actual playlist on the right hand side, you can find the actual class that you need. So if you're struggling with lesson 2 concepts, you can go to the class that is titled Unit 1 Lesson 2. You'll see that that class also took us more than one day to complete. So there's a lesson 2.1 and a lesson 2.2 where we finished it off and then jumped into lesson 3. If you're not sure which class it's in, you can always come on over to the description area and find out what we talked about that day. So here I have Unit 1 Lesson 4.3 up, and that was because our Lesson 4 took 3 days to complete. On the 3rd day, we did a quick review of Lesson 4 material, we refreshed our understanding of calculating percentages, and then we jumped into the direct and indirect taxes. If that's what you needed help with, then you'll know here you'll want to continue watching Lesson 4.3. If that's not what you're looking for, you might want to go over to Lesson 4.1. Check out the description. And you'll see here we talked about income tax. We talked about who pays for it and what it is, and then we got into those tax brackets. If you're thinking, yes, that's what I was struggling with, then you can go to this video and watch the entire class. And again, if you want to skip through all my normal introductions, feel free to do that. Just go right to where it was that you needed help. Here we talked about tax brackets. Good, I'm going to jump right to there and play it from there. The YouTube channel is beautiful because it has everything in one nice, easy, convenient spot. You can see we have our English class listed. The leadership and peer support class that I did last term is still up there. We also have, and this is a good time to put in a little plug for our In Digital Voices. It is a podcast that happens every other Friday. It is a beautiful time to tune in, hear from guest speakers, and our host, Elliot Dockstetter-Wynn. We also have our old graduation video up there from last year if you want to get an idea of what to expect for graduation as Yes Team. It is just around the corner. You can also check that out for funsies. All of our classes, as I have mentioned, are up here. You can go through the different ones. Now, I have taught this course multiple times, but you'll notice that on our YouTube channel, I only have up until our most recent class. Because we're just finishing off lesson 6 today, you'll be able to see lesson 6 once it's done. But if you're moving ahead of me, that's great. I don't want to slow you down. I don't want to hold you up. So feel free to continue working. But then you might say, well, Kobe, now I'm stuck on lesson 10 and you're not there yet. And I don't want to wait 4 days for you. You don't have to. We also have a Google Classroom. You will need to be invited to this classroom. So if you're interested in checking it out, please reach out to myself or your DEC. We have on here all of the previous recordings. The classroom is wonderful because it has all of the textbooks here, it has all of the workbooks here, and all of my previous class recordings. So yes, I'm on 6 right now, but this was done last year. You can see this was May 1st of 2024, so exactly 1 year ago. All of them are on here. If you wanted to move ahead, you could do so and get help from previous recordings on our Google Classroom. So 2 plugs for the Google Classroom, for the YouTube channel, that you can continue wherever you are. Don't wait for me. Don't get held up. Don't get stuck on one question. If you do get stuck on one question, there are multiple ways to contact me. Remember, you can email, phone, or Facebook. Please do one of those so I can help move you on your way. Today we are going to finish off learning how to convert Canadian dollars into American dollars and vice versa. I wanted to do a quick recap because it's been a few days. We did, for the first part of lesson 6, the best buy in a variety of situations. We talked about purchasing incentives and why companies might offer the different kinds that they do. Today we're going to finish with converting Canadian to American dollars. We'll know we have met the learning goal because we will be able to make those conversions. Now, a quick recap refresher. When you are doing best buy, you want to be able to convert those capacity units and those mass units. Be mindful in your lesson 6 key question, you will have to find the best buy. You will be asked which is the better price, which one should they go for. In order to do so, you want to make sure that you've got it on the same playing field. If they're all in liters, like it is for number 1, then congratulations, just go ahead and find out what it is per liter. But what happens when you get to number 2 and we're talking about various sizes? You want to be able to convert to put it into the same amount. Then we looked at the incentives to buy. We know that there are many programs available that people can offer, or companies, I should say, organizations can offer price reductions, promotional items, loyalty programs, free samples, a bonus product with product trial, or a bonus product with purchase. There's also free upgrades with purchase or trade up programs. Often you're given options at time of purchase. Sometimes it's sweepstakes and prizes. Other times it could simply be free information. In your IL booklet on page 11 of Unit 2, you are asked to calculate the amount of Happy Money that Happy Hardware offers store money, and you want to find out how it is to calculate it. So this we kind of rushed through on Thursday, and I'd like to take a minute just to go back over it again so that you will know how to complete that key question when you get to it in your IL material. You want to always think of that best buy, which is the amount per unit. So here, it actually is from Best Buy. Best Buy offers 500 points for every $50 spent at their store. How many points is Best Buy offering for $1 spent at their store? We need to take that amount. So the amount is 500 points for every $1. Nope, it's for every $50. We want to find out what it is for $1, which means that we are going to put in what we know. So we know 500 points is for every $50. We want to know what it is for every dollar, so this is our unknown. In order to calculate, we want to find what it is per $50. So we're going to divide 500 points divided by 50 gets us the answer 10. So it's 10 points per $1. Now I wanted to go over this again because we're setting up ratios. We are making this what we know and what we need to know chart. We know for every 500 points you get 500 points for every $50 spent. We want to know what is it for just $1. We simply divide 500 points by $50 to get this answer. But when we get into the next part of Lesson 6, where we're talking about conversions, I'm going to show you how we're going to use the same theory of setting up what we know to get us answers for converting. We are going to take a look at the currency now so that we can get into the material that we weren't able to reach on Thursday. To quickly go over again, we have currency. We know that currency refers to the money that's used in a particular country, such as in Canada, we've got Canadian dollars. In France, they use euros. In Mexico, they have pesos. In Japan, they have the yen. You can go to websites. I thought I had that one hyperlinked, but I don't. You can go to website, this one I have hyperlinked, to find out what the symbols are. We also learned that the country gets to decide what type of money that they will have as legal tender. We learned that in 1999, France chose to replace their francs with euros. So if this is something that interests you, maybe you're planning a trip and you want to do some research, you can go to eurochange.co.uk. There are lots. It doesn't have to specifically be this website, but this was one that I wanted to show. All of the different world currencies, their symbols, their list, so that you can have a better idea of what's available and what it looks like. Maybe you're reading an article and you come across a symbol that you don't recognize. You can look it up. You can say, what is this R with the dollar sign? Well, that's the real in Brazil. We have different symbols on the very last column. We have their currency code in the middle and where it is that you're traveling to, the country, the place on the very first column on the left-hand side. If you've got time and you want to just explore, go ahead and search through all of them, see what they look like, see what those common ones are, see which ones you maybe never heard of before. And again, if you're looking at traveling somewhere specific, you can look up and see what their currency is. Back to our slides. We want to then, once we know what their currency is, we want to be able to convert it. It's important to note that each currency has a value. When we talk the Canadian dollar, we're talking about how is the value of the Canadian dollar determined. And this can apply to any of the currency. How is the value of the euro determined? In Canada, the value of the Canadian dollar rises or falls every day because the Bank of Canada lets it float. That means that it is going to go up or down according to demand. The more people who want to buy Canadian products, the more our dollar is worth. So that's true for any of them. If you want to know the value of the American dollar, it will also vary, not because of the Bank of Canada, but the more that people want to buy American products, the more the American dollar is worth. The more that people want to buy European products, the more the euros are worth, etc., etc. There is a website that allows you to take a look at exchange rates. Exchange rates are how we are given that value of what it's worth and are used for converting. So if you see a chart such as this, which came from the exchange rate website, it's letting you know the price of one currency compared to another. So in this column here, we have that one Canadian dollar is going to equal this much of another country's currency. Then if you read across to our row, which I thought I had up, maybe I don't. Oops, I have to move this out of my way. You can read it both ways depending on the information we're looking for. But here, again, you don't have to use this specific website. You can use any currency exchange. This one is from xrates.com, and it shows the value of the currency, what each currency is worth. And remember, this goes up and down. So what I showed you on Thursday, it's already different today. On Thursday, we had the green, it was going up. Now we have red, it's going down. And that's why it asks you to refresh, or it will automatically refresh every 60 seconds. Going off of the information that we pulled up from Thursday, I want to continue with the lesson where we left off so that we're all on the same page. As we started talking about on Thursday, there are multiple ways to convert currency. You can use an online currency converter. Many people from the US will visit Canada and pay with American dollars. When they do so, we have to take into account that exchange rate. The conversion factor changes daily, and as of Thursday, 1 Canadian dollar was equal to 0.7248 cents American. That means for every $1 purchased in Canada, Americans are paying just about 72 cents American dollars. When you want to calculate yourself, not using an online app, you want to think of those ratios. So when in doubt, set up ratios. You put whatever you want to know on the top. When you're putting what you want to know on the top, you have the ability to find what it is that you need to know. Here is our first example. We have Greta. Greta is visiting Sioux Lookout from Minnesota. She wants to buy a wagon at Giant Tiger here in Sioux Lookout for $186.65. Now that's with tax, so we're not going to worry about all the tax that we learned in lesson 4, but it's $186.65 Canadian. If this is how much the Canadian wagon is at our Canadian Giant Tiger for Canadian dollars, how much will Greta have to pay if she's using American money? If she's using American dollars, what does she have to pay? This is where we set up those ratios. We know that 1 Canadian dollar is equal to about 72 cents American. We're going to use as many decimal places as we can to make it more accurate, but if you are just going to calculate to 2 decimal places, you need to show that. In your key questions, it does give you to 4 decimal places, so please use them all when you are calculating your key question. So here we have what we know and what we need to know. We're setting up this ratio of what we know with what we need to know. So we know that USD is 0.7248 for every $1 Canadian. So we know the Canadian and the American USD, the American dollars. We also have here our $186.65 Canadian wagon. What we need is how much is that American. So we set up this ratio where we have our know on the left-hand side and our need on the right-hand side. We want to put the same terms. Remember, we need to put things on the same playing field so that we can work with it. So the American dollars are going to be on the top and the Canadian dollars along the bottom. We don't want to accidentally reverse this. We won't get an accurate answer. So we have to have American across the top, Canadian across the bottom. We have to keep it the same. Once we've done that, then we can simply cross multiply. So we're going to take what we know and cross multiply. We know that $1 Canadian and we're cross multiplying. We have an X. We don't know that. So we can simply write 1X. 1X is equal to 0.7248 times, we're cross multiplying, times $186.65. We can then calculate what is 0.7248 times 186.65 to find that 1x, because 1 times x, we don't know what x is, so you just put them together, 1x equals 135.28392. Remember, if you keep all the decimal places when calculating this, you'll have a more accurate answer. So now we have 1x equals 135 decimal, and if we were to round, it would be 28 cents. But we're not exactly done, because it's not just telling us what x is, it's still attached to this 1x. So we have to get rid of that 1x. In order to get rid of it, we have to do the opposite operation. So right now it says, 1x equals, that 1, as we talked about, is multiplied with the x. We did cross multiplication, and because they're not like terms, we don't really know what it is, we couldn't solve for it, so we had to put them together. So it is currently attached to the x is attached to the 1 through multiplication. To do the opposite operation, we have to divide. We are multiplying 1 with x, so the opposite of multiplication is division. We're going to divide. When you divide, it cancels each other out. It's eliminating it. So 1 divided by 1, we're canceling it out. That leaves us with just x. But whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So that means we also have to divide the other side by 1. Well, you'll notice that an answer divided by 1 gives you itself. Anything divided by 1 is itself. So now we have just x, which is what we wanted to solve for. We can say that x equals $135.28. Now we can, because it's our final answer, round it to just 2 decimal places so that we have it in terms of money. And when we're dealing with money, we know that we want to include 2 decimal places and always be sure to include our unit of measurement, which is that dollar sign. And this time it is USD. That's the American dollars. So x equals $135.28 USD. It's a word problem, so we want to do a therefore statement. Therefore, Greta will have to pay $135.28 USD. So we're setting up these ratios to help us to convert. If you want more practice with that, please try your hand at the support question, which can be found on page 8 of Unit 2, and that is question 6 deals with it. Here's the other graphic I knew I had. This is where first we looked at the column, now we're looking at the row, the one that goes across. Across the top, this is telling us that one of another country's currency equals this much Canadian. So when we were going down, we found that it was 0.73117 Canadian. Now here we're looking at it from the other side, that one of another country's currency equals this much Canadian. Again, these have changed. These rates are not the same. If we were to click on this, we would see now that it is at, the American dollar is up to 1.38147, whereas here, back exactly almost a year ago, it was 1.36767, and now it is 1.38, sorry. So it changes, and it's already changing, and it's going to change again in 37 seconds. So you want to be mindful if you are planning a trip how it can change that quickly. I was going on a trip and standing in line at the bank to get my money converted. I wanted to take out American dollars, I wanted to take out euros, so that I had a little bit of both on me for our trip, and I had asked the gentleman, what's the exchange rate? He told me. My husband called. I said, sorry, give me 1 minute. I answered my husband's phone call. 2 minutes later, I said, okay, I'm ready, and he said, it's changed, it's now this. And I wanted to cry because it had changed quite a bit in truly those 2 minutes. So be mindful of that. You can try to play the game. You can try to figure out where and when. We debated, do we exchange our currency at the airport? Do we do it here at the bank? Who's got the better exchange rate? Who's going to give us more value? And it's hard to tell. So be mindful of that. Be mindful of how quickly it changes, and know that when it changes, you will be able to convert it. So let's try again. When we are converting American to Canadian, we want to think of the times that you are shopping online. Many Canadians shop online at American stores. Disclaimer, This, I am well aware, has changed since we had Trump come into office and implement tariffs, and we have our new patriotism, our renewed patriotism of buy Canadian. So this will definitely look a lot different now than it did a few, well, even just a year ago. Thinking of where are you going to get the most bang for your buck, and where are you going to be putting your money, who are you going to be supporting, really breaking it down to think of it that way. But it's good to know that when you're shopping at American stores, the conversion factor again changes. As of Thursday, for every American dollar, it was 1.3795 Canadian. That meant that for every $1 purchased in America, Canadians were paying about $1.38 Canadian, which is also why it's not always beneficial to shop in the States. A lot of people will go over the border and shop there because of products and sales, but you still want to be mindful of how much more it will cost if you convert it to Canadian dollars. Let's practice what it would cost us if we were shopping in the States with our current exchange rate. Let's say Letitia buys a smartwatch on Amazon.com. So she's buying it from the States. The watch in America is $225.99, and that would be USD, that would be American. And we're saying it's already got the taxes included. We're saying for ease that it's already in there. We want to know how much Canadian dollars will Letitia need to spend. So same thing, we're setting up those ratios. We're setting up the what we know with what we need to still find. So we know, now we're talking Canadian dollars, we're putting Canadian on top. That 1.3795 Canadian is equal to $1 American USD. We want to know how much she's going to spend in Canadian dollars, so we're making that our we're unsure, that's our question mark, but we know that it's $225.99 USD. So we're going to do the same thing where we can cross multiply. 1 American dollar times y gives us 1y, and that is equal to 1.3795 times 225.99 American. So we are looking at solving first. We want to know what is 1.3795 times 225.99. We get 1y equals $311.7753205. Remember, we're going to keep all the decimal places until we're done working with it. Again, we have that 1 in front, so we're going to divide out the 1, canceling it out, leaving us with just y. But whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. And we know that anything divided by 1 is going to give us that same amount. This time it's our final answer, so we can just round to 2 decimal places. It's a word problem, so we're going to have a therefore statement. Therefore, the smartwatch on Amazon.com for $225.99 USD will cost Letitia $311.75 Canadian dollars. So we're putting our ratios in there so we can set up what we know and what we need to know. I have another example on the board that has our 1 Canadian dollar is equal to 0.7248 USD. You can still use this to convert USD to Canadian. If we want to convert $386.13 USD to Canadian, we still have our ratios. Make sure you are putting what you know on top, and then you can solve through cross multiplication. So here looks a little bit different. We have 1 Canadian is equal to that 0.7248 American. We want to know how much is $386.13 American in Canadian. So we're going to cross multiply. Well, 1 Canadian gives us 1 times 386.13, which is equal to Z, that's our unknown, times 0.7248 USD. So we solve 1 times 386.13 is 386.13. Then, oh, I should make this smaller or it's going to be hard to see. Yep, I've run out of room. So let's try that one more time. We're still cross multiplying. 1 times is just going to be 386.13, and that's equal to Z times 0.7248 because we're cross multiplying. Now the Z is attached to this 0.7248. We want to get it by itself. It's attached through multiplication. This bracket means multiplication. Multiplication, here's a little side note, can be written many different ways. We can say 2 times 3 with that little x in between. We can say 2 times 3 with a little dot in between. This one is handy for when you're working with algebra. Like here we have Z. If I did Z times 0.7248, it looks really confusing. Am I saying ZX 0? Am I saying Z times? So that's why we don't want to use the X symbol when we're talking multiplication and working with algebra, working with letters. So that dot can be nice. We can say Z times 0.7248. Sometimes that can get confusing. It might look like a decimal place. So then we use brackets. We can say 2 bracket 3. That means 2 times 3. We can put both the 2 and the 3 in brackets. That means 2 times 3. So it really depends on the problem, the equation that you're working with, as to how you want to write out that multiplication. Because we're doing algebra and we're working with decimals, I like to use the brackets to show that we're doing multiplication. So let's multiply. Can we multiply Z times 0.7248? Well, we can't because we don't know what Z is. So we're going to have to get Z by itself. We want to isolate it so we can find out what it is. In order to isolate it, we have to get rid of that times 0.7248. To get rid of it, we are going to do the opposite operation and divide it out. When we divide it out, we are eliminating it. If we were to actually do the calculation, 0.7248 divided by 0.7248, you'll see that it gives us just that 1. So it's leaving us with 1Z. But whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So we have to divide out 0.7248. Well, now we can calculate what is 386.13 divided by 0.7248. We get $532, and this is our final answer, so we're going to round So if we are converting $386.13 USD, that means that it equals $532.74 Canadian. So we're just using our ratios, we're setting up what we know, keeping our same units on the same plane. Remember, if it's going to be American on top, you keep American across the entire top. If it's going to be Canadian on the top, you keep Canadian across the entire top. If you want extra practice, turn to page 10 and try support questions 7 and 8. That wraps up lesson 6, where we talked about buying decisions. We talked about unit price, which is the best buy, your bang for your buck. And we found out that more is not always better. Sometimes we get fooled by the big family-sized box, but it doesn't always mean that it's better. You might be paying more than what it would be worth per unit price. A lot of times it is good, it is more bang for your buck, and you want to be conscientious of that, especially if you need to budget. Sometimes planning ahead is better so that you can save up for the amount of the bigger box, because it will cost more, and sometimes we know it's better per unit price, but we still go with the smaller one because that's all that we have on us. So keep all of that in mind when you are budgeting and needing to buy. The beginning of lesson 6 also had us look at incentive programs. We know incentive programs are motivating individuals to buy. We have learned again that it's not always a better deal, but sometimes it's a matter of, well, if I'm going to do this a lot, if I'm going to shop here a lot, might as well get something out of it, and then needing to decide which one is worth signing up for, which one will benefit me with more rewards. The last part that we looked at were our currency conversions, and we learned that those are constantly changing. Tomorrow we are going to look at lesson 7 and talk about simple interest. I had made this slide last week and thought that we'd get to lesson 7 by today, but we had to finish lesson 6 today, so we're going to end up doing lesson 7 tomorrow. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out via email, Facebook, phone. My email again is Jacoba, Jacoba, .flatt, FLATT, at nnec.on.ca. You can call me at my desk, 807-738-1488, extension 2228, or call us toll free, 1-800-667-3703. If you want to connect on Facebook, I can be found under the first name J Flatt and last name Wassa. I am here Monday to Fridays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. If you don't get a hold of me, it could be because I'm broadcasting, but leave a message and I will get back to you as soon as I can. If you want to sign into our Google Classroom to watch this recording, if you want to sign into Google Classroom to watch future recordings because you're ahead of us, if you want to sign into Google Classroom so that you can get the textbooks or workbooks, because let's be honest, life happens and sometimes we lose them, sometimes we spill coffee on them, and you might be on a roll and you might want to continue working. At least you've got that at your fingertips so that you can see what they are. If you don't like working online, I get it 100%, much harder to do with math than it is with English. So at least you'll have them there and you could write it out on lined paper if you want, at least until we get you a new copy. But Google Classroom is wonderful for that. It has the recordings, it has the resources, it has the tips and tricks. You can find it all in one convenient place. You'll just have to reach out to myself or your DEC for the class code, they've got it as well. We do have a few minutes left of class, so we can take some time to go through the support questions and make sure that we're on the right track. Again, remember, you can always flip to the back of the unit. After each unit, there are the support question answers. There are always just 5 lessons per unit, so when you get to the end of that 5th lesson, you will find the support question answers. So here we have lesson 6, we're just starting out. We can see support question number 1. If we're going through our IL booklet, we can see support question number 1 on page 4 of Unit 2. And this is where we were talking about the best buy, the unit price. So we had just finished learning about that. It showed us an example, gave us a solution, and now it's letting you practice it. So if you're going to do this and you want to practice it, you would read, calculate the unit price for the following. So here in A, we have a 2-kilogram bag of carrots. Maybe it's not a bag, but it's 2 kilograms of carrots for $2.59. We want to work on that amount per unit. So we do amount per unit. The amount is $2.59 and the unit is 2 kilograms. By dividing 2 decimal or $2.59 divided by 2, we get 1.295. Now it's our final answer and we're talking about money. So we want to round. This third decimal place is going to tell us what to do with the second decimal place. The 5 or higher is strong enough to bump our second decimal place up. So we can say that this is $1.30 per kilogram. We have to include our units of measurement. We want to show the dollars and what it is. So it's dollars per kilogram. That would be our amount, dollars per kilogram. Let's try one more. We want amount per unit. Again, it's dollars per gram this time. We have $3.49 for a 425 gram box of cereal. When you are dividing $3.49 by 425 grams, you'll see that it works out to be 0.0082. Now, if you're not sure if that's right, you can go and look in your support question answers found at the end of lesson 10. That's the end of our 5th lesson. It's the end of our unit 2. And you'll see for lesson 6, number 1, it is $1.30 per kilogram. So we got it right. You can check to make sure you're on the right track. Here we have the $3.49 divided by 425 grams. So we know we did the right step, and then it tells us that it's 0.0082. Now this breaks it down per individual, each gram. So it has the per gram. So we know again that we have done it right. So you can keep going through each support question and seeing if you're on the right track. Again, it's not for marks, so you don't submit them because the answers are in the back. There's no need to grade them. But try them for practice until you feel comfortable and confident, and if you are okay with it, then just go ahead and go to the key question. I hope you have a great rest of your Monday. Enjoy the gorgeous sunshine.